school earlier and it made me feel old. I'm only 2 years older than you. Yeah, damn it. It's your
At
cold
middle
open.
school.
I know. That's terrible.
I finished, well, the school I graduated eighth grade. They had seventh and eighth grade in the same building. That was
Hmm.
2011. Jesus.
Damn.
Wow.
I was
I feel old now. Fuck.
I
2015.
I was in eighth grade in 2016.
I graduated
I
high
don't
school in
remember.
You
2015.
did.
I all I know is after the Seahawks lost Super Bowl 49, I went to high school. So it was like 15, 16,
Mm.
something like that. Anyway, that's your cold open. We're talking about middle schools. Welcome back to the Seattle Storm Roundtable. I didn't know how much stuff we'd have to talk about after we did an episode last week, right? But it's been somewhat eventful in good ways and bad ways, unfortunately. Um, we'll start off the show with a return. There's two returns to talk about, and one of them is an older player, and Alysha Clark. Alysha Clark is back with Seattle, um, on a 1 year deal. Richard Cohen. A lot of these numbers that we're gonna get are from Richard Cohen and her hoop stats. Great, absolutely great tool for WNBA contracts and numbers and stuff like that. One of my lights went out. That's crazy. I mean, it's a nice pickup. Like I think anybody would agree it's a nice pickup as like a bench piece, right? Um the money's a little bit interesting. Richard Cohen reports it's $185,000 unprotected, so a significant raise from what Alysha Clark was getting the last few years in Vegas. You know, obviously Alysha Clark has been a fan favorite in Seattle since signing with them in 2012. You know, got drafted by San Antonio way back in the day, didn't sign there. He earned the nickname the Eraser. That was the first thing that popped into my head when I found out about this deal. Yeah, I mean Seattle needs that help. She can provide some great spacing. Uh, you know, but it's interesting. It's an interesting deal at 37 years old. And given the contract number, in terms of the money there. Before I keep going, I would love to hear about this deal because again, I think any of us on the surface, like, oh, Alicia Clark, like great piece for your bench, right? But depending on some roster stuff that we'll talk about, it maybe it's not a bench. I don't um Rowan, I'll go with you because I know you saw Alicia here as the storm walls behind you, we'll say. And then Christian, I want your take on it as well, after we hear from Rowan.
Yeah, she's definitely back there somewhere. I don't know which one she is. Yeah, I mean, I think when we talked last week, I feel like this is always the perspective for some reason that comes to my mind first, but just from a fan base perspective, I think that this was an easy win for the Storm organization. Just I think that, obviously I've seen a lot of people, us included, talking about how Seattle really missed out on some of those big name free agents who are now, have now been signed with other teams. And so I think they were really looking for a win in the, free agency space, and to bring someone back who has been like you said, fan favorite for a very long time. And when we've talked about in the past 3 years losing Sue Bird, Brianna Stewart, and Jewel Lloyd. I think honestly, some of that money that they have is basically paying her a bit to kind of help boost the fan base and bring some excitement back. And we've seen that even with Gabby Williams when when she came back mid-season, people got really excited, and I think that's something that you do have to think about is how is your fan turnout going to be, and especially when you've just lost the person who is the who was the face of the team for the past 2 years. So with that, I mean, I think we see that the roster is super limited at the moment, and you're right that there could be, she definitely has that ability if there is the need for her to start, whether it be, God forbid, any injuries in the future or just trying out different lineups. She's been in that role before, if I remember correctly. In Seattle, there were a few years there where she was starting, and so she has that veteran presence that I always say, the Seattle really loves to have. So I think overall it's a good get, but I think money wise, I agree. I think that they could have used that a bit differently, and I think that they were just looking for a win, and it seemed like kind of had to convince her a little bit more than maybe they would have wanted to with that extra money. So with a really limited roster, interested to see if that kind of ends up biting them later with, trying to sign some people. Like the roster, what did we say? 6 people right now. So making sure that you have money to sign some other people is really important moving forward.
Yeah, calling a spade, Seattle's had a pretty hard time this offseason signing players and giving Alysha Clark at 37 years old, $185,000 for one season. It's kind of a lot on the heftier side. If I'm not mistaken, I think she was making the vet minimum last year with Vegas, so that's a substantial pay rise. Like Rowan said, that definitely comes from continuity with the fan base, with the team, spending a majority of her career here, the times that she spent. But also, this just shows that Seattle's having a hard time signing people. There have been meetings that haven't went the way they probably would have wanted. There's been players that have been rumored to be coming to Seattle that would fit the mold that really haven't either taken meetings with Seattle or hasn't even really kind of blossomed fruition. Now, I don't think this is going to last. I mean, this is a talented team, really nice fan base, a great city, great facilities. Just opened last year, the Storm Center for Basketball Performance. You would think these would be draws for really anyone in the league, whether it be young or kind of on the elder side. That's probably possibly on their way out of the league that kind of haven't had these things their entire career. But so far to date, we haven't really seen anything that's been, I guess, unexpected. But there was always a possibility that Gabby Williams returned. It was almost a surefire guarantee that Nneka Ogwumike was going to return. Alysha Clark coming back, a fan favorite, like Rowan said again. But did it surprise us in a good way? I mean, not necessarily, considering the Storm need more help, especially on that bench. Like, you can look at the starting lineup right now. Skylar, you got Gabby, you got Nneka, you got Ezzy. That's a great 4, but that's pretty top heavy considering you don't have the bench to go with it right now. Like, there's kind of the same thing that everyone said about Vegas over the last couple of years. But honestly, I think this might be one of the better benches that Vegas has had. You think about it, they've got Cheyenne Parker Tyus. Then they just signed, I can't remember who they just signed the other day. Tiffany Mitchell, we were just talking about. Those 2 additions in general, if you look at the Aces roster for the last couple of years, those are by far 2 of the most talented players they've probably ever had coming off that reserve unit. In order to win a championship, and that's what the Storm want to be in 2025, you have to have players of that ilk. And right now, they kind of don't have that.
Hey, Charles.
Hey, Jen.
Hey, were you going to watch the Seattle Storm away games this year?
Away games. Well, Rough and Tumble is the home of Circling Seattle Sports, so I was thinking of coming here if that's okay with you.
I think that makes a lot of sense. See you all here.